Hi Tresco, Chris Boston here, President and CEO. It's been a while since I've produced a video to talk to you about how things are going. So want to just jump right into it. So first and foremost, I want to again thank all of you for your commitment and for staying on the job. It has been a rough 3 months for everybody. And so I just want to first and foremost thank you for your commitment. And I know back in May we demonstrated our commitment to you and to thank you, and I had a lot of nice comments and notes from people, and I appreciate that. But please know that it was our way of in a substantial way to be able to say thank you for the work that you've done. And so again, we appreciate you and for sticking with us through this. One thing that I want to discuss today with all of you, though, is we've been very fortunate that we have avoided having COVID-19 within our organization, and we've had several scares. We've had probably about 15 scares, and fortunately, all of those came back negative, and they were negative for COVID-19. But we also have we know that it's not a matter of if, but when. And we need to be prepared for that. And so first and foremost, I want you to know that when we do have a positive, we will be taking the following steps to keep everybody safe. So first, social distancing. I cannot emphasize enough how important social distancing is. And for those of us that work in this business, whether you work in the contracts division, the early intervention program, our TOTS program, home visiting, or in our home and community-based waiver program. It doesn't matter where you work. You have a responsibility to observe social distancing at all times. You have a responsibility to wear your mask at all times, because we're not just talking about us. We have a responsibility to all the people that we work with, but also all the customers and all the people that we support. And so I need you to make sure that you continue to social distance. I need you to wear your mask. I need you to wash your hands, use hand sanitizer. Remember, we have that available for you to use. All you have to do is ask for it. And it's very, very important that you do so. But when we do have a positive, and folks, we're starting to see a spike around us in Texas. We see a significant spike in Arizona. And I don't know if all of you follow the statistics, but we will be seeing a spike here in New Mexico. With the opening of businesses, it's just expected, and we know that's going to happen. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about when we do have a positive within our organization, how are we going to deal with it? And so I'm going to refer to some notes here, so please forgive me for looking down, but I want to make sure that I communicate this correctly. And so the first issue that I want to talk about is if you were exposed on a secondary basis, which means that you were not directly exposed to a person who has tested positive for COVID, but maybe it was a friend of a friend. Maybe a friend of yours has a friend that they were exposed to, and you were secondarily exposed. So what's our company's posture on that? Well, first and foremost, we need not panic. We need to make sure that we follow all of the testing guidelines set forth by the Department of Health, and we will be following those as well. And so if you are secondarily exposed to a person who has COVID-19, first and foremost, we encourage you to go ahead and get tested. It's never a bad idea to get tested, and those testing opportunities are available here in Las Cruces at Memorial Medical Center, and also at the Department of Health building at Solano and Spruce. For those of you who are in the off-site locations, if you need assistance in finding a testing location, all you have to do is notify our Human Resources Department, and they will help you find a testing location in your community. They are all over, and they are very, very available to you. And best of all, there's no cost. It's just your time going and getting tested. We are not going to require you to provide us with any documentation of those situations, but we would like you to notify your supervisor if you have been exposed on a secondary basis. And again, that's not you've not been directly exposed to a person with the virus, but you have a relative, a friend, or an acquaintance that has been exposed, and you were exposed to that person on a secondary basis. So that's the first section that we need to talk about. The second is that I want to talk about, what if you do test positive? Well, number one, if you are showing symptoms of COVID-19, it is essential. It's essential that you notify your supervisor, and first and foremost, you do not come to work. It's critical because that is the best way to transmit the disease, is by being at work. And then the second best thing, or the second thing that is necessary for you to do, is I need you to go get tested. Now, if you're showing symptoms, or you may not even know that you have COVID-19. You could be asymptomatic. You may just be tested because of the work that you do. You may be at the doctor and they may say, hey, let's test you. But if you do test positive, we do need to have you quarantined for 14 days. We have programs within Tresco to help protect your income for that. And so if you do test positive, you will have to quarantine for 14 days. Now, all we need for that is we need a note from the doctor that you have been tested and that you're recommended that you have, or it's recommended that you are quarantined for those 14 days. We have programs within the organization that we can continue your pay so that you don't have an interruption in your income. And so, but it's important that you notify your supervisor and human resources immediately so that we can start that process. Time is of the essence. Now, what if you are exposed to somebody who tests positive, but you are not showing any symptoms? You don't have to quarantine, but we do insist that you go get tested immediately. And you will not be allowed to work until you get a negative test result, which means that you are not infected with the disease. Again, if you are directly exposed to a person with COVID-19, you need to go get tested and you need to not come to work. What will happen in that time? Well, you will continue to be paid for the hours that you were scheduled to work during the time that you are off. We are serious enough about this, everybody, that we want you to not be here, but we understand that your life is also important as far as your income, so that you can maintain your life and not have a financial burden placed upon you. And so that's why Tresco is taking this step, so that you will not come back and not possibly infect others. So we're trying to contain the infection to you if you are positive. One thing I want to talk a little bit about is being asymptomatic. We have found out in the last 3 months that many people do not show symptoms of COVID-19, but they are infected. There's not an understanding as to why, but it does happen. And so it is important, if you haven't been tested yet, if you're not sure, I would encourage you just to go ahead and get the test. It's very easy to get done, just in case you are asymptomatic, but you are positive. That's the best way for us to keep everybody safe here at Tresco. The last thing that I want to talk about as it relates to COVID-19 is travel. We get a lot of questions from our employees as to, well, can I travel? Can I go out of state? Et cetera, et cetera. Tresco's stance is that we are following the public health order issued by the Department of Health. And as of today, which is the 24th of June, the governor and the Department of Health has issued in their public health orders that if you travel outside of the state by means other than airplane, you do not have to self-quarantine when you arrive back to New Mexico. So that means if you drive, say, to Texas to go see family, if you drive to Colorado to go camping, whatever it might be, you are not required to self-quarantine upon your arrival back into New Mexico. However, if you get into an airplane and you fly anywhere and come back to New Mexico, you are required to self-quarantine for 14 days. I know for some of you that's going to create a burden for you. I'm sorry about that, but the governor and the Department of Health has mandated this, and we are taking it seriously, and we are enforcing that requirement. So again, if you travel outside of the state in an airplane, or just in an airplane generally, you will need to self-quarantine upon your arrival back for 14 days and also be tested. So just want to make sure that I have everything. I think that covers everything for our COVID-19. It is very important, folks, that when we do have a positive, that we not panic. Just because somebody maybe has COVID-19 doesn't mean that even though you were directly exposed, that you are going to get the virus. If you follow social distancing, if you wear your mask, and you follow all of the hand washing requirements, that mitigates the risk greatly. And so we just want to encourage you to follow that. And also in your social life outside of work, I see a lot of people going around without masks on at the stores. I know you see the same thing. Please wear your mask. Please wash your hands. And please socially distance yourself from others. So with that, I'm going to wrap up, and I want to, again, thank you for the work that you do. Tresco is strong. We're doing well as an organization, and we are here to support you, your family, and most importantly, our mission. As you know, the mission is everything to us, and we will continue to do whatever we can to support that cause. So with that, thank you for everything that you do. And if you have any questions about the COVID-19 situation, please notify or contact Human Resources, and they will be able to help you more. Take care, Tresco. Wash your hands and stay away from each other as best you can. Wear your masks. Bye-bye.